Hi, welcome back to Tarot Grove. Today I'm going to be doing one of the top 10 decks hashtags. I actually forgot to look up the exact name of the hashtag, but I will put it in the name of the video, so you already will have seen it. And yeah, the plan for today is just to look through the top 10 decks in my collection, which, to be honest, these decks are like more or less the only decks that I use these days. I have more, but I've been in a process of streamlining my collection. Like, I'm really in a kind of curating mode. Like, I like to feel that the decks that I have a real like purpose and place in my practice. I'm really enjoying deepening my connections with the decks that I've got, and yeah, just like kind of coming into closer relationship with the cards, trying to shift away from the buzzy sensation of looking for the perfect deck, or yeah, constantly like looking outside my collection to fill holes and fill gaps that don't feel like I've got a deck that does that, or ooh, maybe like I really resonate with the artwork in that deck more than the one that I've got. And yeah, just trying to be more mindful and remember that the practice is the point, the buying decks is not the point. So yeah, with that in mind, my plan is to share with you what I've got going on at the moment. As I said, I've probably got closer to 30 decks. I think probably about 18 of them are like actively in use and in rotation. I think I'll do a video at some point talking about the decks that I feel conflicted about and that I might put up on the shop as like seconds for anybody who, you know, would like the decks that I've got that I'm not using. And yeah, just really enjoying that kind of like, maybe it's also the time of year, the like cozy feeling of having things around me that are imbued with my energy. You know, like I use these decks regularly. I use them for particular practices or when I'm in particular moods, and so I feel like as a result, every time I get them, I just realized I might have like soot on my nose from lighting candles. Anyway, yeah, that now like when I get a deck out, I have like an immediate connection. It sparks a kind of particular energy or particular mood for me, or if I'm in a specific mood, like I know which deck I feel is going to meet me there. So yeah, this will be like very personal. I hope you enjoy looking through the decks, but obviously these are the pieces of artwork that call to bits of my soul, and they may or may not call to yours. But yeah, I'm very happy and very excited to be sharing them with you. So let's get to it. Okay, hi, we're back. And we are on my nicely mucky mat. This is the mat that I use for all of my readings, and yeah, there's been many candles spilt and chalk and paint and all sorts, so I will start by lighting some candles. So that we can get into a nice cozy vibe. So I've tried to do this in a kind of sensible way, by which I mean like grouping them so that they make a little bit of sense. Like I am sort of doing a 10-to-1, but not, well, no, actually definitely not really, because I think this would come much higher up. Yeah, maybe it's more like vibes, and then the ones right at the top are definitely my top decks, but this one is probably my number 3 or 4 of all time. But so let's start here. At number 10, oh, and I've cheated twice, but you know, everybody cheats on these tags, so I'm sure you'll all forgive me. So we have the Avatara Tarot by Gabby Angus West. This is a tarot deck that is created in homage, I don't know, to Frida Kahlo. The guidebook is written in the style of like diary entries from Frida, and the deck, like several other pieces of artwork, so I think we've already seen, there we go, this is a reference to a very famous painting, and I can't remember the name of it right now, but like that Frida Kahlo did. It's like a self-portrait of her, with the arrows, I guess, representing a lot of the different challenges and suffering that she's experienced through her life. So yeah, the deck kind of follows somewhat the story of Frida and references a lot of her most challenging moments. And I really feel like she has captured the essence of Frida Kahlo. Not that I ever met Frida personally, but just, I don't know, from the documentaries that I've seen about her and what I've read, I feel like Gabby has really caught the like fiery aspect of Frida Kahlo, as well as a lot of the sort of a lot of her artwork is again referencing some of Frida Kahlo's more surrealist time. She also captures a lot about the relationship with Diego in the deck, and it just reads like a fantastic tarot deck as well, I would say. It's got a really specific voice, so this deck is, to me, sassy and full of life and pissed off, and it is very fiery, very, very fiery. And when I'm in a really particular mood, perfect, exactly what I need. It is able to meet me in my pissed off, determined, boss energy, this kind of don't mess with me, I'm on my path and you better not get in the way kind of vibe. And sometimes we really don't want a sort of neutral, fluffy, warm tarot deck. Sometimes you need a tarot deck that's gonna get in the boxing ring with you, and this deck will do it. I think it's one of the clearest, most chatty decks that I've got. Chatty's maybe not the right word, but like for me, when I draw cards from this deck, the answers are crystal clear. It's the closest deck that I would say I have to have, that one that actually has a personality of its own. I feel like I'm talking to the deck, when usually I tend to use tarot more as a mirror to like my own psyche, but this feels almost like there's a kind of teenage best friend with attitude that's living inside the deck, and it's going to be brutally honest with me. And sometimes I'm going to roll my eyes, but in the end I'm probably going to be grateful for the advice to, like, you know, ditch the guy and do my own thing. So that is the Avatara Tarot by Gabby Angus West. Also just on exquisite cardstock. Like, this is probably one of my favourite decks to shuffle. I mean, it's like, I think it's linen. I don't know if you'll be able to see. Yeah, it's definitely linen, with like really soft gold gilding, and yeah, a beauty to shuffle and a very special deck. So number 10, more or less. Again, I'm not gonna say this is a real ranking, but deck number 9 that I'm going to show, I keep in this lovely Kelly Bear pouch, and it is an absolute perfect match. Outgrow Yourself by Actor Sparman. And by the way, just for anybody watching, you know, like this is one of my earliest videos. I'm really still like learning what my tarot voice is, what I want to share, how I want to talk about the cards. So like, you know, forgive me if some of my ramblings are a little off topic, or if I seem a little awkward sometimes. This is me finding my voice, which, yeah, ironic that I needed to clear my throat whilst trying to say the words finding my voice. But there we have it. So, this is, yeah, the Outgrow Yourself Tarot and Oracle deck by Experiment, one of my favourite decks of all time. Ooh, steamy hands. I edged mine in yellow, it doesn't come like that. This deck, again, has a really, really specific voice, and the voice is, okay, to me, this deck, oh, that's a nice spicy one to start with. Cruelty is the highest pleasure. To me, this deck is like the shadow parts of me, but the shadowy parts of me that I'm starting to come into contact with. Like, I bought this deck 3 years ago, maybe 2.5 years ago, and then I got rid of it. And I got rid of it because I was not ready to meet this aspect of myself. She does not take bullshit. She is not afraid that people don't like her. She's very authentic. She's angry, and those were parts of myself that I, yeah, was really struggling to connect with. I was very much a people pleaser and very frightened of people not liking me. And slowly over the last 2 or 3 years, I have come into relationship with parts of myself that are ugly or, you know, unfeminine or wild or feral, and realized that they bring me so much power and help me to feel more whole, more wholly myself. Yeah, and this deck has been a part of that journey, like being able to talk to those shadow aspects of myself that are just coming, you know, this like dark background and these light figures. It's like they've just reached the edge of the shadows, you know. I'm just about able to talk to them. I'm not fully there yet in terms of being this kind of badass, no bullshit creature, but I feel much more like I can make contact with that and starting to learn how to say no more. Yeah, so wonderful deck. The phrasing on the cards is brilliant always. Like, again, it's kind of like with the Avatar Tarot, it's got a very spicy bent. I also wrote on mine, you can see in like little black ink, the tarot associations, because it's a Thoth-based tarot deck. And one, I don't know the Thoth well enough to know exactly which cards each of these is meant to represent, but I think it's also quite abstract, so even if you're very familiar with Thoth, you might not know. Maybe the keywords would give it away, because these are the Thoth keywords. Thoth, tote, however you like to say it. I say Thoth. And yeah, it just, again, this deck does not people please me. It does not try and make me feel better, but it often tells me what I need to hear. Look at that, fucking flames right underneath her. You may never be good enough. Ain't that the truth? So, stop trying. That's the key. Outgrow yourself. Experiment. Wonderful, wonderful tarot and oracle. remained, since I rebought it, has remained at the top of my favourites list. So that was number 9. Next we have a relatively recent addition to my collection, but I feel like I'm really smashing it these days. I think because I've been 12 minutes. Okay, I better hurry up. But yeah, I don't know, because I've been reading tarot and buying tarot and oracle decks. I mean, I've probably had like 100 decks pass through my hands in the last 3 years. And yeah, now pretty much every deck that I buy is a win. So this is the Abyssal Tarot by Shelley Corbett, and there is a lot of nudity in this deck, so I will try and, I think I already showed one that was lots of nudity, but I will see if I can pick ones that are maybe slightly less. It might be a little triggering for some people because there are a lot of kind of cards with some sort of sexual connotation in them. But it is beautiful, and it's underwater photography, which just immediately transports you into this world. Sense of being in the underworld. And I don't know, like there's something about the fact that you can't quite see what's going on is really evocative and good for projection, and yeah, like asking, what is this card saying to me? How does this speak to my experience? And combining then like the image with the traditional meaning of the Six of Cups, whatever your association is, and then with the title of the artwork, which is written up the side. It says "Wish to Tell." It's just a really, really rich deck. But yeah, also, as I said, like there's a lot of really confronting imagery in it as well. So it's definitely, like, I don't think I would have managed to, or I think I would have found this deck more challenging than helpful, until I had done some work on some of my own triggers. Amazing death card. Yeah, I love it. I find it evocative and confronting in a, to me, an incredibly empowering way. Like, it's really helping me with like reconnecting with my libido, my life force energy, through the sort of shadowy underwater. It's like a direct line to the unconscious, this deck. And it's potent because of that. There's a lot of shit in our unconscious that probably we don't really want to look at. I laugh because otherwise I cry. It's challenging, but it's really an incredible piece of work. And I think it's from about 10 years of Shelley Corbett's artwork, photography. So, a long time in the making. I don't think the photos were taken with a tarot deck in mind, but it works beautifully well. So, that's number 7, I think. No, number 8. This is number 7, The Ritual Tarot by Tierra May. A classic. We know it, we love it. It is a firm fave on TarotTube. Again, I edged mine in gold, just to give it something a little, makes it feel kind of like a treasure that I found in a cave somewhere. I have the 3rd edition, I think. Anyway, it's the ones with the backs that have got the names tidily snuck in there. I associate this deck with Medusa. Thanks to Racine from Owl Moon 513, I did her Medusa intensive last week. Working with the energy of Medusa, using one tarot and one oracle deck. And for some reason I chose this one. I wasn't really consciously sure why, but actually after picking it I realised that there are a lot of people made of stone in here, which very Medusa. It's also got snakes on the back. And it does have this kind of strong feminine energy to it. And it's also abstract's not the right word. I don't know, it feels not entirely human to me. Whatever that means. But it's powerful and breathtaking, like a lot of the cards like this. It's just like the vast landscapes that Tierra May chose for the cards feel like often I feel this kind of fast inhale of breath as I draw the card. It's like, whoa, I feel it in my chest, this kind of, yeah, expansive, mythic, like this card. Really does look like there's some sort of god figure who is calling you across the fjord. Yeah, just beautiful. I think this is probably my preferred RWS style deck. If I want to choose something, like I don't really read with the Smithwaite, apart from full clients. The imagery just doesn't really light me up, whereas this I find much more evoking. So, Ritual Tarot by Tierra May, beautiful deck, just incredibly powerful collage art. This card I drew today, reminding me ever to be the fool. And this fool creeps me out, by the way. Like the three characters, they're total oddballs. There's something kind of uncomfortable, and I feel it's like and this guy with the flower and on his head and the 4 eyes and the little dude playing the pan pipe. It kind of makes me feel like it's an invitation to drop all the stupid masks of pretending like we're all, oh look, I'm so pretty and well put together and I'll smile for you. It's like, now these guys are all absolute weirdos, and like, aren't we all really, when we drop all the pretense and all the masks? So, invitation to be our weirdly authentic selves. Now, the next two also come in a kind of grouping together, and they come with a little bag of nuts. Bear with me, this will make sense in a second. These both have kind of Celtic, foresty, fairy vibe about them. It's the Always Magic Oracle by Naomi Cornock and the Brian Froud's Fairies Oracle. This one arrived today. Probably partly why I was feeling inspired to make a video. And bold of me to put it in my top 10 of all time, given that it arrived today, and I also don't care, so it's going in, because it's one of the decks that I'm using at the moment, and as I said, I'm more or less using 10 decks, full stop, at the moment. So this will be number, hang on, 10, 9, 8, 7, yes, 6. So we'll start with Brian Froud's Fairies Oracle. This comes with a chunky ass guidebook, for a reason. The artwork is unbelievably beautiful. Okay, definitely it's the right way up. But difficult to access the fairies' wisdom without the guidebook. I mean, one of the things I love the most about this deck is, also I am aware that my deck showing style is rapidly changing from one deck to the next, from stacking them on top of each other to spreading them out, but there we go. We live in the chaos. Yeah, one of the things I love most about this deck is that when you look at some of these pieces of artwork and you really look in detail, you see like more and more and more and more faces, and for some of them when you turn the card upside down, like more faces emerge in the upside down position. So again, this is a widely loved deck. Everybody talks about how it's got its own personality. I agree. The day that this deck showed up in my life, my house sale fell through. I asked it if it was the one that made the house sale fall through, and it gave me the card. See if I can find it. That is the same on the front and the back. It's got the little community of creatures. There we go. The Topsy-Turvets, which I took, which is the same as the backs of the cards. I took as a firm yes. So this deck will fuck you up if you're not careful. You have to be, you know, very respectful of the fairies. And the messaging in the guidebook is just supremely wise and very deep. Like, I can't pull more than one card at a time from this deck. It's like 2 pages of guidebook wisdom that I think they collected through like focus groups of people using the cards, which is an absolute genius way to write a guidebook. I'd have to fact check that, but like in the guide there's definitely little sections where it's like this participant said that. So definitely there was multiple people involved in the construction of the guidebook, and yeah, it's just a deck that really feels earthy. I mean, it just feels like you've walked into the forest and you are talking to the little creatures in the forest, and you know, they've been here for millennia and they laugh at us and our little human problems. And I like that. It feels containing, you know, that there are things that have been here before us and things that will remain after we're gone. Okay, Always Magic Oracle. Today's arrival. Will she stand the test of time? Who knows, I'll update you in a year. But for now, I bought this deck because I was feeling very confident that it is of the right style, and I don't know, yeah, I was just convinced. The artwork, I feel really drawn at the moment to learning more about Celtic mythology. I am from England, from Southwest. Well, I moved to there when I was 11. And I am just beginning a journey to connect myself more deeply with the land that I live on and I grew up in, and the mythology from this place. I have mixed heritage from Scotland, Wales, Ireland, England, and I would like to get to know the symbolism, the gods and goddesses, the creatures that make up the mythology of this place. I grew up in a very atheist household, so there was not really much connection with, I guess, the value and the role that mythology and yeah, these kinds of symbols can have in your life in terms of helping you to make meaning of your life and your experiences. So I'm starting that journey now. Never too late. 34 as of last week, and this feels like it's going to play a part in that. The different cards have different goddesses on, which are named in the guidebook, and so I'm going to use that as like a starting point to go off and go away and learn all about the Celtic pantheon. So, Old Ways Magic Oracle. So far, so bueno. So that was number, God, I'm bad at this, 5? Oh, no, that doesn't make sense. Does that make sense? 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Yep, 5. Okay, I have badly miscounted. This is number 4, but in fact it's 5, really. I've got an extra. Okay, we'll say I'm going down to 0, guys. Plus I'm cheating. This is one of the cheats. So this is a duo which I use together, I pull together, and is my battery dying? Yes, it is. Okay, let's take a pause and I'll plug in. Okay, we're all plugged in. So this is a duo that I use together. You can shuffle them together. At the moment I've got them separately, but usually I do have them shuffled together. This is the Wisdom of the Divine, Wisdom of the Shadow. This is Wisdom of the Divine Feminine. And they are both by Jessica Hahn and Jenny Hahn and Jessica Ricchetti from Intuitive Alchemy, I think is the name of their business. I don't remember who is who, but one in terms of who focused on the artwork and who wrote the guidebook. But I think that I think it was just one of them who created the artwork. But I will check that. I should know that because I do actually stock these decks in my shop, which I should have mentioned. My shop is called Tarot Grove. It's a UK-based indie tarot and oracle deck shop, and yeah. I have both of these in stock there. These decks are really, really intuitive to me. The artwork is very body-based. I find that they really bring something strong up somatically for me when I look at them. I mean, aside from the fact that there are actually bodies depicted in the cards, which I think helps you to locate where the sensation might be. But just in general, like the use of colour, the use of shape, body, a lot of these like little phrases. I mean, for me, it's very visceral. Like this vulnerability card from the Wisdom of Shadow Oracle. I don't know if you can see, but it says like, look at me, see me, love me, tell me I'm okay. Will I ever have another partner? How will there be enough? Like there's just, I mean, it's really intense psychologically, I guess. Like this deck is very much, both of these decks feel to me very psychological, like really connecting you with shadow and also with some of the brighter aspects of our inner landscape, like radiance. Wow. What a beautiful card. The flowers growing up her body. Yeah, and obviously the two decks speak beautifully to one another. They can also use them with tarot. This the reason I have them separate is because the Wisdom of the Shadow is the oracle that I was using with the Medusa intensive that I was doing with Racine from Owl Moon 513. I used it with the Ritual Tarot. But yeah, I mean, to me, these decks really speak more than any other, I think, to how I see and experience my emotions. The guidebooks are fantastic. They lean, like, although the Wisdom of the Shadow has a lot of dark themes in it, so we've got, I think you already saw there was like rage and emptiness and resistance, dissolution, greed, like some very challenging themes to be dealing with. It's quite a mature deck in that way. The guidebook holds those challenging themes in a very supportive way. So it doesn't shy away from the difficulty, but it really takes you, like, it can bring you from a place of rage or anxiety and help move that or transmute that energy into something more supportive and more fruitful. And the other thing is, all of the cards come with a ritual, which I personally find, like, the rituals that they've done are not generic at all. Like, I think there's a risk often with some of these decks where there are rituals that it can feel a bit samey. These are super specific, perfect to the word on the bottom of the card, and they're just very unusual. Like, it's different to the rituals I've seen in other decks. So major thumbs up. I love these decks a lot. They hold a very special place in my practice. My partner also loves them, which is unusual. Like, I think with the number of decks that I've bought over the years, he is often skeptical when I bring a new one into my collection. And when he took a look at these, he was sold. So that's always a positive indictment of a deck. So, Wisdom of the Shadow and Wisdom of the Divine Feminine. Deck number 3, one of my all-time favourite Oracle decks, The Weaver's Oracle by Carolyn Hillier. Woohoo! This deck, to me, no competition, holds the most wisdom, crone energy of any deck I've got. These paintings also took about a decade to do. I believe they're all life-sized. Carolyn painted them all by hand and also created, I think, almost at least, of the objects that you can see the weavers holding in the cards. They actually exist in real life. She stepped into the energy of the weaver by creating the objects. I have not scratched the surface of the depths of this Oracle deck, and I've had it for a while, but I think it's something that's taking me a long time to develop a relationship with. I think it's just a reflection of the fact that I'm not quite there yet. It is the guidebook entries, again, for this are probably some of the most potent guidebook entries of any deck I've ever seen. They are all stories of the weavers, from the moorland to the tundra to the forest. Each of these weavers is place-based and has a myth or a tale or a story associated with them. It feels incredibly earthy. I was thinking just this morning, actually, I've always wanted to get into Greek mythology, thinking that, there's a lot of archetypes there, it would be really interesting, but I struggle with Greek mythology, I think, because it feels very high up. It feels like quite, up in the clouds, very pure, very clean, almost royal. And I connect much more with myths in the sense that they are portrayed in something like the Weaver's Oracle or the Old Ways Magic Oracle, the kind of Celtic shamanic tradition that is much more earth-based. It feels muddier, dirtier. You know, there are old hags and wild maidens and people running around in the forest half naked, and that just speaks a lot more to me, and I think is why I've been sleeping a little bit on the mythological aspect of my practice, because I hadn't found a pantheon that resonated, and I needn't have looked any further than not only than my back door in terms of like England, Wales, Scotland and Ireland, but even like the southwest where I grew up. Many of these decks are created by wise women in the southwest. The Old Ways Magic Oracle, the Weaver's Oracle. I also have the Redstone Tarot and Goddess Oracles by Linda Hill. She, I believe, is based in the southwest as well. So I think it's that moorland, guys. It is so evocative. This was the most recent Weaver that I drew. Yeah, all about gathering wisdom from fellow women. So, this, number 3, probably number 1 oracle of all time. I love it. Number 2, bearing in mind we're going to 0, is probably the first deck I ever had a really, really developed relationship with. Like, I used it a lot. I felt like it spoke to a part of me. I've done a lot of internal family systems or parts-based therapy, which is basically the idea that like we're not just one person, but we have maybe an inner child, maybe we have like multiple parts within us. You know, there's a part of us that feels ashamed, the part of us that feels angry, the part of us that feels compassionate, and if we can kind of connect with all of those different parts of ourselves, that we will, I don't know, it's like a process of integration and coming into wholeness. And this definitely, the Playful Heart Tarot by Kitten Shops, I think, although I don't use it very much anymore, was the first deck that I felt really spoke to a part of me that needed speaking to at that time. It is not a cute deck. I mean, it is a cute deck, but it's really not. It is incredibly deep, punchy, like this card. Ooh, my inner child speaks the language of this deck. I just never got on with like the really cutesy, huggy decks, like with, you know, sweet teddy bears and animals and unicorns and things on. For some reason, that like traditional illustration style didn't call to me. This, however, definitely is the language of my inner child. And it just doesn't shy away from difficult stuff. In fact, it takes me, I think maybe that's partly why I haven't used it in a while. Can take me to quite painful places. But there is so much genius in this deck as well. Like, Zara thought very carefully about the symbolism of each card. Honestly, I can't glow enough about it. It's a genius deck, beautiful artwork. Zara is a wonderful person. All in all, Playful Heart Tarot, major thumbs up. Will never leave my collection, and is also the only deck that I want to pick up when that part of me needs speaking to. It's just that I think the inner child is doing good at the moment, so I feel less called to work with a deck like this, you know. But maybe I should bust it out. You know, we always want to talk to our inner child regularly, make sure she's a-okay, and this deck is a nice way of doing it, so going to put that on the to-do list. Talk to inner child. Next is deck number 1, barring the cheating last deck that I have, which is Future Ancestor Tarot. Now, very much like the Playful Heart, which I have in a bag full of rosemary and lavender, which I picked when I was in Italy this summer, and I have that partly because this deck has lavender and rosemary on it. This is created by Lexa Luna Studio, which I think is Alexa Villanueva's business. Comes with a really cute little white book that has just beautiful phrases. Like, they are so short and just so soulful and heartwarming, and yeah, it's a really holding deck. This deck is very much a deck of the heart. Like, if I think about some of my decks are punchy, they give me kind of solar plexus, chakra energy. Not that I really know much about the chakras, but I'm thinking in terms of where I feel my power and my energy is, like right in the chest where the solar plexus is, and that's more the kind of Gabby Angus West Avatara Tarot and the Outgrow Yourself Oracle. You know, they have very like punchy energy. This is quiet, gentle, loving, soulful, full of heart, and full of grief. It's a deck that just scoops you up like a grandparent after you've grazed your knee. It's so soft and gentle. Oh, I mean, look at that Metamorphosis card. Like, to me, that's almost the vibe of the whole deck. You know, it will transform you by wrapping you in a blanket and giving you the time and space that you need to process what you need to process. I love Lexa's art style. Yeah. I feel calm, a wash of calm, even just as I flip through the images. We've gone wonky again. I think I need to tighten up the screw on the phone holder. Anyway, there we go. Future Ancestor Tarot. It's another one that I have in the shop. Beautiful, heartful, wonderful, wonderful deck. Okay, the last deck on the list is 2 decks. I told you I cheated again. Story Medicine Tarot 1 and 2. I'll start with number 1 because that's the one I've got most recently and is my second favourite, although the guidebook for it is so flipping good. This deck, here are the backs. The backs are the same for both 1 and 2s, created by Jessica Zinchuk. This deck follows 4 stories, which cover the 4 suits and also like a couple of, like 4 or 5 of the majors are associated with each story. So between the 4 stories you have the whole deck covered. The stories are really archetypal and speak, I guess, in some way I would expect to everybody's experiences, but certainly to mine. The artwork is, yeah, deeply, less so with this one, but for all of them, for both of them really, they're very earthy. very fiery. It meets my need for colour. Again, less so this one, but this one I feel, this one like is very much more to the point, so this reads more like a traditional tarot deck on one level, but then when you add the stories in, like the cards, the story doesn't follow the suits from like ace to 10. The stories like weave the numbers from the suit in a completely different order, so when you read the story, she puts in brackets like at each point of the story which card it's referring to, so you can try and organise the deck in a way that I did it when I first got it, where I followed the suit stories and I put it in that order so that I could get a sense of the feel of the stories. And yeah, they're just beautifully written and very, very evocative. So I get a lot out of using this deck because I read it not only in a kind of what does the Four of Wands mean to me kind of way, but also at what point in the story of the Wands does this Four of Wands emerge, and does that speak to where I am right now? And actually usually I find reading it in that way gives me a much deeper reading than just using the standard meanings of the Magician or the Sun. So that's Story Medicine Tarot number 1. Then we have Story Medicine Tarot Animal Woman, which I keep in this pouch along with a stick of Palo Santo. Again, same backs, but quite a different vibe, even though it's the same art style. This is, I believe, Jessica in all of the images in this deck, whereas in the other deck there are a lot of different body types painted. This deck has key phrases on every card, as well as the name of the card at the bottom. In every case, the key phrase is expansive. It is a different take on the card than I have come across. Again, it's like earthy, shamanic, animal-based, like, potent as hell. Again, there are some really confronting, challenging cards in here, and some cards that will connect you deep with ancestral wisdom, cards that will take you up into the sky, like Spirit Dance. There's gentle hug cards. I mean, it's just, to me, it speaks my language 110%. If I could only have one deck, it would, no questions asked, be this one, and I would try and cheat and take the other one as well, because I feel together the two decks just, they obviously speak beautifully to one another, and they are sufficiently different that I can kind of get one type of reading from the first one and a very different kind from this deck. I use this deck every day over the summer. Since I got back from Italy, I spent 7 weeks there, and I basically used almost exclusively this deck. I got a few new decks into my collection when I returned from Italy, so I've been playing with those, but yeah, this is by quite some margin. I wouldn't even have to question if somebody said I could just take one deck. This is the one. So, Story Medicine Tarot, Animal Woman, 2nd volume. It's a Game Crafter deck, I think. You can order these, comes from the US, unfortunately, so shipping is quite expensive. And there are 2 more in Jessica's, on her shop. It's a series of 4 decks. I just have 1 and 2 now. I will definitely be getting 3 and 4, but over time they're quite an investment, and again, I don't feel quite ready to work with Baba Yaga's Soup is the name of the 3rd one, and Seaweed Sisters is the 4th one, and I just still have a lot to get from working with this and with the latest one that I got, the 1st edition. So that's it, folks. My top 10 / more like 12 or 13. This was number 0, the outside the rankings definitely my favourite. Yeah, so I'll turn you around. Okay, that was it. My top 10. I think it was glitchy, wonky. I'm pretty sure the camera slid around a lot, and I cheated a lot as well. But that just gives you like a bit of a flavour for my my like working collection, the ones that I use. As I mentioned, I've got a couple in there which I only got quite recently, so I think maybe that will change. Maybe they won't stick around, but I do feel like I've really settled in the last 6 months in terms of what I want. First of all, not a massive collection. I know that for sure. I feel very overwhelmed when I have a lot of decks, and so 10 to 20 is pretty much all I can use consistently and feel like I'm getting what I need to out of my practice. I'm also learning that I have a preference for earthy decks, heartful decks, and shadowy, spicy decks, I guess. Decks that will help me deal with some of my own shadowy undercurrent stuff that I need to kind of embody and own. So I feel like those categories are kind of covered at the moment. Yeah. So I'm really happy with my collection at the moment, which is a really nice place to be. I think there was a while where I got quite lost in buying a lot of different decks and not really knowing, or having like fantasies about how I would use certain decks. You know, I would buy a lot of Oracle decks that really don't, like, I don't really use Oracle very much. I have a few that I use in a specific way, like the Weaver's Oracle, that I will pull one card and I will sit with the Weaver, and maybe I'll pull it on a full moon or on my birthday or something, and it will give me an energy to work with for a prolonged period of time, and something to keep coming back to, and like an aspect of myself to keep reflecting on. Yeah, and then I think the similar kind of thing with the Brian Froud's Fairies Oracle and with the Old Ways Magic Oracle. I think those also have that sort of like pull a card, sit with the energy for a period of time and reflect on it in that way. I've never really used Oracle as like a clarifier for tarot. And so I bought a bunch of Oracle decks thinking I was going to use it like that, and then it just never fit into my practice. I think partly it's because I feel like the tarot, each card in a tarot deck has such a long history of meanings, and you know, hundreds of books written about it. This tarot has been, you know, it's hundreds of years old, and so there's a real depth in each archetype in the 78 cards. Sometimes I have felt that Oracle decks have felt a bit shallow to me in comparison. Now, again, like the oracles that I now have in my collection, I don't feel that way about. I feel I've found decks that have a lot of depth, but they're deep in a different way to tarot. So, yeah, that's where I'm at in terms of what I'm bringing in and what I'm now not bringing in, you know, having learned a lot more about how I work with tarot and oracle, and also like learning to let the buzz subside of when I'm like, oh, new deck, I'd really like that. And I'm aware I'm saying this as like an owner of a tarot and oracle deck shop, but my hope is that the space that I've created is very intentional. I'm only bringing in decks from independent artists. I've been really thoughtful about who I'm working with, people who prioritize environmental sustainability, social justice, etc. And I hope I encourage slow and thoughtful consumption. Like, these are beautiful spiritual tools that can be incredibly potent and really meaningful in each of our kind of daily psychological spiritual practices, and so I really want to contribute to that. Like, I'm really delighted to be running this shop, and I want to run it in a way that feels like aligned with my values, and that means not pushing people to buy as many decks as possible, because that wouldn't feel good for me. So shop side tangent aside, that was my top 10. I hope you enjoyed my meanderings, and I look forward to seeing you all in the next one. Bye.